Peter, it's great to have you back on the road to autonomy. This is your second time on here, so thank you very much for always coming on and sharing your candid, wonderful insights into autonomous trucking. Torc had big news. You said bye-bye to Fiestas and balloons, and you moved to Fort Worth. Why move to Fort Worth now?
First of all, it's great to be back on your podcast, and I'm listening it every week and every episode. I love it, especially when I'm driving car, and I'm sure most of the audience will do the same thing. Yeah, let's answer this in a really, really long-winded way, and I'm sorry for this, and I will be more to the point than with the next questions. You know, we had Albuquerque open for about 4 years, and I really loved this place, and it was a great place to bring us where we are today, because it was a great test spot for autonomy. Why? You have everything in close proximity. You have interstates, intersections, you have surface streets, dense urban traffic, let's say the loneliness of a desert. You have an elevation change of thousands of feet, and you have all climate zones. So it was a perfect test bed for autonomy in the early days. I think you have been there and you were driving our truck. I think even in the early days, so it's now driving even much better. But that helped us to really define what's needed for a final product, for a production intent truck. But there's always this R&D phase and advanced engineering phase, but it really helped us to write down all requirements to hardware, to software, to algorithms, to safety case. And that's what Albuquerque was for. And back then we also thought I-40 is our launch lane. So we start in LA Port, and then we drive through California and all the great states alongside the I-40. But now two things changed. One, the biggest port of entry in the meanwhile is Laredo. It's not LA Port anymore due to this conflict between US and China. And California is not that friendly to autonomous truck. Texas is. So we decided, hey, let's pivot. I-35 is our pilot line. That's where we will launch first. And there's a lot of trucking volume going on. It's 14,000 trucks northbound, southbound each day. And I'm a trucking person. I'm from the industry. I've never seen so many trucks in my life. It's unbelievable. You're close to interstate, and it's really 10 Class 8 trucks flying by, and then you see one car. 20 trucks flying by, you see one car. Amazing. So that's why we made the decision, hey, let's pivot. That's the place where we want to be. The second question is why now? And I think that's something really unique about Torc. I was speaking about this R&D phase, advanced engineering phase. All of this was done on retrofitted hacked chassis, where we had prototype sensors, prototype compute, the x86, the usual thing I think all robotic companies start on. And this is not production intent. And we really wanted to be production intent from the rubber to the roof right now, so that all sensors are in the final specs from the final supplier, awarded at target cost, with all the necessary redundancy, so that we now have a stable hardware that will carry us into 27 when we want to scale profitably. And we had, in last September, we had a big event. So that was our first product release on this production intent hardware with production intent software. And it's production intent from the rubber to the roof, where we did driver out on a closed course. And we were releasing it fast forward as if we were in the year 27. And we were running through all the release processes and safety processes to not only, to train all muscles that you need, the hardware, software, mission control, but also how to release a product, how to really feel good. And that was our first product release, and it was a really big moment. And now we thought, okay, now it's time to pivot to sundown, let's say the prototype fleet, to switch to the production intent fleet and put it in service what's really needed, which is I-35. And that's why we decided to move Albuquerque to Dallas, which is on the northbound of this I-35 corridor down to Laredo. And last not least, and I thought it's a really long-winded way, the cool thing is majority of our people are joining us. They're already here supporting the transition, and a majority is moving with us to Dallas. Some go remote. So that also speaks for the culture and for the work ethic of our employees. I'm really glad that so many people help us and stay on the journey.
You moved to the autonomous trucking capital of the world, Hillwood. What Ian Kinney and Mr. Perot Jr. have built there is truly the capital of autonomous trucking. When you're doing the testing today in Dallas on the I-35, Are you doing those on the redundant platform that Daimler Truck, where you formerly ran that program? Are these the redundant chassis that you're starting to integrate and test into your fleet?
Yeah, that's exactly the transition I was speaking about to production intent. So it's all sensors, all computer production intent, but also the chassis. And it's the first time that we are using the redundant chassis. It's just a handful of trucks, and now month by month by month, the fleet is growing in this production intent state. And our driver out in Uvalde was based on this redundant chassis. So that's a really, really big swing. Yeah.
What does the redundant chassis unlock for you? Because I get a lot of emails and X messages from investors, and they always ask, how do you define a redundant chassis? What does it unlock? Can you shed some light on that for our investor listeners and viewers?
Yeah, I think you had a great person on your podcast, Vaughan from DTNA, speaking to what he designed. If you want an extended version of this, your audience, I would refer back to my good old friend Vaughan speaking to it. But so mainly you need some core components really in redundance. Say the hydraulic support is not there anymore for brakes. Today, the driver can pump the brake harder mechanically. That's not possible in the future anymore. Or if the electric support for the steering breaks, you can use your muscles. That's not possible anymore. So you need two electromotors on the steering. You need more redundancy in the braking and the communication and the power supply. And it's just a lot of work that goes into this. And there are not many suppliers. Yeah? And they also have their timelines. And it was pretty clear, for example, in braking, there are only two suppliers. So it's pretty clear when they will have a solution and when you can integrate it into your truck. And steering is not much better. But importantly, the redundancy goes way beyond the chassis. You need this great foundation that we got provided by Freightliner, by Daimler Trucks North America. But the redundancy then carries on. And it also needs to be designed. For example, there will be two power lines, so that when one electricity line goes down, the other one is still up, and it can still supply 50% of my sensors, 50% of my computer, 50% of everything with electricity. So you really need an integrated system where the redundancy in the chassis then really also influences your hardware architecture that you're putting in terms of sensing, so that are your eyes, and in terms of compute, which is your brain.
If a sensor went down or compute went down, does that redundancy allow you to pull the truck over, or does that truck continue the mission depending on what redundancy or what sensor went down?
It's a little bit the core belief that you have as a company, and what in the end what's your safety case and what's appropriate for trucking. And when I speak, though, we are on interstates. It's an 80,000-pound vehicle moving with high speeds, and so. So we think when sensors go down or compute go down, you need to be able to complete your mission for at least, say, 20 minutes, so that you can really reach a safe harbor. Because stopping in lane is not an option, and stopping on the shoulder, there might not be a shoulder, and it's always not always a same thing. And you need to design this if you do your safety case really early on into all your hardware, into all your redundancies, also software redundancies, so that you then can complete the mission. And that's what we did.
Do you test for that in simulation? Do you test for that on a track? Or how do you run these various scenarios? Because you're very publicly gearing up for driver out in 2027. So how are you testing and preparing for that monumental moment?
All of the above. So it always starts in simulation. And I think simulation has become, let's say, the core piece of your validation strategy. And with all this Gen AI emerging, you also have so much more opportunities to really realistically test in simulation, and also have a much broader variety of test cases that you can develop from your real world driving, and then just do all the parameter variations by Gen AI. So this is the core, let's say, the core element of any releases. Then we go to closed course, and last we go on public routes, first with safety driver, and when the time is right, also without a safety driver.
When you were in Albuquerque and you were very kind and host to me, there was two things that I still talk about to this day. You had some weird edge cases. Andrew Cullion on your team told me about the number of beds that fall off of trucks on tractor trailers. That was really interesting. And then one of your team members showed me an individual dressed up as the Burger King man playing Frogger on the freeway. Out there edge cases, do you take all those out there edge cases and then put them into simulation and say, well, if somebody could do this, perhaps they could do this as you prepare to go driver out?
All the edge cases, in the end, you collect a lot from real world driving, but even more from let's say, also public databases and things like that you can find. and then you do all the crazy variations you do in simulation. I mean, the even most crazy thing that we had in Albuquerque, an I-35 fighter jet was crashing on University Boulevard, so qualified as lost cargo, yeah. But in an, I mean, all things are happening out there you couldn't think of. This is really, it's really amazing. But in the end, that's what you need to foresee. And with this Gen AI tools and simulation, you can get a pretty realistic view of the world. Most importantly, you can also prove that your simulation matches reality. And so that's the harder part, instead of and which parameter variations are real and which will you never encounter in reality. The other thing is that you need to use these edge cases to really also design. You're mentioning these lost things. You need to use this to really write the requirements for your perception system, that you can perceive things way out there. And in trucking, you must be better than in cars. So because a truck cannot brake like a car, you have 30% more braking distance. It cannot do as cool maneuvers like a car. Most of the time, you can do a lane change or a braking, and that's it. Yeah? But not in a way too spectacular way. So you need to perceive things much farther out than a car that you can plan better ahead, yeah, and recognize situations earlier and keep yourself out of trouble.
How far down the road is the torque perception, or if you want to use the term, the torque driver, looking down the road when you're on a mission?
It depends very much on the sensor type. I mean, with the camera, you have the famous 1,000-meter vision with LiDAR, and then all the other modalities kicking in. But from 500 meter on, we have a really good perception now, which I really think is needed in trucking. Maybe not in cars, but definitely in trucking. Yeah.
Is that just because of the pure weight of 80,000 pounds and the historical? This is FMCSA data. When you look at the amount of time it takes for a truck to brake, is that why you have to have such a long range perception system?
Your braking distance is longer. You cannot do spectacular evasive maneuvers, and the error of margin, because you have such a heavy vehicle at high speeds, is also pretty low. That's why some things might be easier with trucking and interstate driving. Some things are harder, and this is definitely one which is harder.
Look at hard problems. Torc's been solving hard problems. It started out, for all practical purposes, defense contractor building Autonomy, and then I remember years ago, this is before your time when you came in as CEO, they were working on a Torc van for vehicles. I remember that. I saw that at CES one year. And now the company's now fully on in autonomous trucking. Your other programs, you shut down or sold them off. Not sure exactly what you did. But in those early days of Torc, the stack was built on robotics. Now you're starting to integrate AI into your stack. How much of the stack is based on AI today, and how did you go through that integration process of converting the stack from traditional robotic stack to an AI stack?
Good question. First of all, it's both, and it's AI first. And I come to this. I mean, we always had AI because, for example, you can't recognize traffic lights without AI, or doing an effective mapping without AI. So there was always some elements of AI in the Torc stack, even in the very, very early days. We then had a feeling, hey, we need, especially where you need a lot of AIs in the vision, computer vision, and we need to bolster our capabilities there. And we were collaborating with a Canadian company called Allocation back then, since many years, and they were just phenomenal in computer vision and AI. And their CTO, Felix Heidi, he's a Princeton professor. He's one of the top 10 experts in AI in automotive. And, on this famous conferences, he's always head on with Raquel from Varby. He has 7 papers. She only has 6. Next year, she has 7. He has whatever. So it's a top-notch team. And we could acquire this team, and we could integrate it more or less like in a blink of a second, because we were collaborating with the team since 1 or 2 years. And that was the point in time where we then more or less did a full swing to AI. And today our stack is, it's an end-to-end stack like everyone else. I think in the modern field, what is important for us, we have interim results. So we call it interpretable, so that we know what the stack is doing and why. And we have the robotics stack running in parallel just to set some boundaries so that the AI is not doing something crazy. Let's call it, it's auditing the AI system, but the performance comes out of the AI system. And that's for us important, because that gives us also the interim steps that we need for our safety case and our way how to validate the product. But it's an end-to-end AI stack, which I think is state-of-the-art currently.
And I got to give a shout out to my buddy Pete Bigelow, because he hosted the Bigelow Battle at CES, where Mr. Sterling Anderson, he talked about validating the AI to eliminate hallucinations. Is that very similar to what you're saying, that Torc is taking a very similar approach to Aurora, where you're using AI, but then you're also validating it?
I don't know the Aurora stack in detail. It sounds pretty similar, to be honest. Yeah.
Do you feel that all the AI, in your opinion, has to be validated before going, let's say, shipping it commercially?
I think for now, yes. I mean, we can then always switch it off. But I think, especially with the first launch, I really don't want to go any risk. I want to be on the safe side. We have this. It doesn't cost too much additional compute time. And so we think it's the right thing to do. And I'm pretty sure, I mean, we saw so many revisions of our hardware and our software stack, more or less, every 2 years. It feels like a new generation, and this will continue. But this is our starting configuration, and we think it's the right thing to do. If you go truly driverless, level 4, on an 80,000-pound vehicle moving at high speed.
Do you feel that approach helps your public policy team, your launch team build relationships with law enforcement, local officials, port officials of all the facilities and places where you will be operating?
I hope it helps. But what we're doing a lot on the one hand side is really working with what you're saying, law enforcement, policy, emergency response, so that they understand our technology. And for them, it's most importantly, how can I, if something goes wrong, first of all, how can I power off the system? And they were very pleased to see it. It's like a good old Cascadia, nothing changed. So you need to make it easy for people. Also, this is a stressful situation. If something goes wrong there, your brain must not function perfectly. You want standards, and you want to make it as easy as possible because that eliminates potential errors. That's one. And then how can they interact with someone in the back office so then that they can, whatever, get the truck removed, find out what's going on, and have a person to speak to. Yeah. But that's one big thing. And then the other topic, which I think is important, where we as an industry need to coming together. And that's why Torc is joining a lot of the committees like AVIA and PAVE, that we as an industry work on industry standards and say that's what we believe is safe. That's what we believe is a standard. We should hold all of us accountable. And I think that's the second really important topic when we speak to authorities.
They want trust and they want to know who to call. They want a cell phone. If there's an incident, they want to be able to call. They don't want to call 1-800, hit 2, hit 4, hit 6. They just want to be able to call somebody. If they're going to read me out, they're going to read me out, but they just want that direct contact. Getting back to your public launch in 2027, would you have been able to achieve that if it wasn't through all the breakthroughs that we've seen over the last 24 to 36 months in AI?
No, I think that was definitely needed. And we were speaking about launching this end of the decade originally. And then there was a point in time, I think about a year ago, where we're specifying, okay, let's put 27 out there. And why? I think a lot of things came together. On the one hand side, we had the feeling now you have the hardware that is needed. And it sounds simple, but without a redundant chuck, you won't have a product. Without sensors that look far enough, and I'm speaking especially about frequency modulated LiDARs in production grade, I think it's tough, and you need the computing power. And back then, Xavier chips and alikes were not good enough. You need minimum Orin or Eileen source or competitor products to solve for the product, And now we're at a point where the computer's there, sensors is there, the chassis are there, and the algorithms are there, AI-based, and the simulation with Gen AI-based can also handle this, let's say, this multiverse, or how you want to call it, or omniverse of options out there, that you have a really good simulation engine to prove it's safe what you're doing. And you saw all these inflection points. And then last not least, of course, a lot of tools were available. But now I would consider us more like a second mover, that when you come in late, you don't need to develop all the things. You can just buy it. So other companies have done the groundwork. I mean, Waymo has done amazing things where we now just can benefit from, see what works, what doesn't work. A lot of tools were developed for autonomous, but for AI in general. So that's why we thought 27 might be a good point in time that's fitting our, let's say, also our funding restrictions that we have, but also what's realistic out there.
You moved the timeline up 3 years from 2030 to 2027. AI is advancing at leaps and bounds.
Sorry, we didn't move it up. We also the second half of the decade. There should be more an end of the decade, second half of the decade, and then we just put the middle point of the second half of the decade. Wouldn't call it moving up.
Okay, that's a fair way to say it. Could you move it up if the AI continues and all systems are go? Could you potentially move it into Q4 26 potentially?
I'm long enough in this industry, and I've never experienced that you only have home runs. Yeah. And so that's why I think 27 is a good date. And it might be not January 1st, it might be January 2nd. So no, I think it's way too early to speculate about the exact date and things like that. I think it's still super challenging, and a lot of things need to come together. And when we speak about launching something, we always have in mind a scalable, profitable product. Yeah, profitable for us, profitable for customers, scalable. So it means it needs to be safe. It needs to be super reliable. You need to have high uptime that enables low operations cost, and you also need to meet a really attractive price point. And that's what we are developing against. I see a little chance that there's any possibility to do it much faster. You can do retrofitted prototype some things earlier, but we decided for us it's not the right thing to do.
When you fully commercialize it, you're operating in 2027, you're fully commercialized. How do you scale it?
Everything we build or we develop and design is built for scaling. So first of all, our partner Freightliner, they will put all the hardware that's needed on a redundant chassis and build it out of their production plants. So that's a really great thing. It's great for the cost position. It's great for reliability because nothing can beat the quality that comes out of an assembly line. But it's also great for scaling. Yeah, you want one truck, you get one truck. You want 10 trucks, you get 10, or 100, you can have 100. Yeah, so that's not a problem. And so I think that's a great thing that we now can freeze our hardware so that DTNA can also work on integrating this into manufacturing plants, because this takes a lot of preparation until all of this is done. The other aspect of scaling is, of course, that also your software is pretty flexible. I mean, I-35 has a ton of volume. Feels like I could get profitable almost on this one lane, which might not be true. So we need to do more, but we are not developing to one lane. We are developing to an ODD, and there are much more lanes that fit into our ODD. And for scaling, you then, in the end, need customers that want you to drive from A to B. We will check, is it within our ODD? And then we will unlock the ODD. Or if it's not within the ODD, then we'll just do a small business case and hopefully unlock it in a second wave pretty fast.
Where are the trucks going to be manufactured? Has DTNA retooled a line getting ready for your commercial launch?
Yeah, I think they should speak to it, but they have a small, let's say, I think that might be publicly known, that they have a small, let's say, small scale model prototype plant in Portland where they can build a couple of hundreds of trucks. For scaling, it will go to one of the mass production plants, so either in Mexico or in Charlotte, in South Carolina, in the Carolina.
Obviously, Daimler Truck Freightliner has a vast dealer network, very very publicly known. And let's say I'm a large fleet customer of Daimler's, and I want to buy the redundant chassis with Torc because the driver shortage. How does that process work? Do I call you? Do I call Joanna? Or do I call my dealer? Who do I call to start that process?
Yeah, we call it a sell with process with Daimler. And by the way, I think that might be one of the built-in unfair advantages that we have over some of our competitors. It's not only access to the platform, but it's most importantly, I think, the access to the after-sales and sales network, and that is quite often overseen, especially the after-sales network, because parts will break. Reliability will come out of the fact how quickly can you fix it. And the Freightliner has just the most dense service stations network out there and parts out there. And the cool thing about our way, how we build a redundancy, it's all built out of standard parts. Yeah, it's taking twice the standard parts, not a special part. So the parts are there. So that's an unfair built-in advantage. But sorry, that was the after sales. You were more asking about selling the process. In the end, our model will be you go to the Freightliner and you buy an autonomous ready Cascadia, and you come to us and you buy the Torc Virtual Driver as a subscription. As simple as that. It will be a sell with, because it's not a level 5 truck that can drive anytime, anywhere. It has restrictions, so we need to check, hey, is the customer lane within ODD? Can we do it? Can we unlock it now? Can we unlock it later? It also needs to be seamlessly integrated into the customer systems, and we also need to train the customer how to operate it, how to operate on hub, what are the things he needs to do, and how to maintain the thing. So that's why it will be a sell-with approach, at least for the first year.
When you talk about a subscription, will it be a per mile subscription fee? Will it be a per month subscription fee? Will it be a per hour prescription fee? Or will it be a yearly all you can eat fee?
All of the above. Let's say our favorite model would be you go to Freightliner and you just buy an autonomous ready Cascadia, costs you a little bit more money because you have all this autonomous technology on it, and then you buy a monthly subscription from us. I think that puts the best incentive out there to really use the technology and not drive in a manual, so that you also have, if you exceed or whatever the mileage that is behind your monthly fee, then you also have an upside of using the technology. That's our favorite model, but we will have all models. There might be customers that want a by mile, exact by mile, or by hour, or by day. We can offer this. There might be really, really big customers that want to pay it all upfront because, let's say, their CFO thinks that's a better thing to do. It's a little bit like today, because today also there's not one model how you sell a truck. You can sell it, you can lease it, you can rent it, you can have a buyback value. You can have it with warranty, with extended warranty. I think today there are 5, 6, 7 models how to buy a truck, and I think this will be pretty similar in autonomy. Let's say we have a favorite model, but we want to make money, and we want to enable the customer to use our technology, and we will make it pretty easy to use for the customer.
I just want to clarify so I make sure I heard you right. You said that, and this is, I think I heard you right, that the truck can be driven manually. Is that right? After that, you sell it to one of your fleets, if they want, they can drive that truck manually?
You always can drive a truck manual. That's why we are not removing the seat, because, for example, you need to drive it to a repair shop or to a maintenance shop. I think it's not a good thing to drive it manual, but there are some situations where you have to drive it manual, and such situations will happen. Yeah. So that's why you keep the capability in there, and then you can say, okay, no one will drive it more manual than needed at all. But let's say through a subscription, you're also setting a monthly subscription an incentive to really push the utilization of your autonomous truck as high as possible. Yeah. To use it, I mean, if you use it more, you're making more money. But in the end, all of this will be a discussion that we then will have as customers. We will follow their advice and their preferences.
If you look at the market, and I'm going to pull public data on this. You look at the market. They don't compete with you yet. They could compete with you in the future. Tesla, they have the Semi. Mr. Musk has talked publicly about putting FSD on. There's no timeline. There's no public data for me to point to you on that. But I do have public data to point to you on a Model 3, a Model Y, an S, an X. You buy FSD for $99 a month, unlimited, or you pay the $7,500 for the lifetime of the car, and then Tesla's selling you the asset. So I see a situation where I'm a fleet, I buy the asset from Daimler, I pay you an unlimited fee. Could that happen because Tesla's kind of setting that market, and especially if they do that same model for the Tesla Semi, do you feel that can kind of, for all practical purpose, become a de facto standard because the power of the marketing that Mr. Musk has in the market?
We will find out, to be honest. In the end, there are multiple ways how we can monetize the technology, and we are open to more or less all of them. Yeah. And it might not be a bad model, by the way.
No, if you're CFO, it's predictable revenue. You have X amount of trucks in there. You know how to model that data, either if it's for the lifetime of the truck or a month, and it gets really interesting. On a model perspective, staying in the model perspective, you, Torc, will not own the physical, the truck asset. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct. The only trucks that we will own are our prototype trucks that we need, let's say our R&D fleet, that we need to develop the next features and whatever, test the next hardware and test the better computer to bring down costs by 50%, unlock the next ODD, unlock snow and icy roads and things like that. So we will always have an R&D fleet, and we will have one hub. That's the Dallas hub I was mentioning in the beginning, so that we have a sandbox where we can also optimize hub processes and optimize, let's say, a small hub, a mid-sized hub, a big hub, so that the transition and the ease of use for customers is as good as possible. But overall, we do not intend to own assets. And that's a good thing about trucking, maybe in contrast to robotaxi, where the industry is used to own assets. So it's either the fleet or it's one of the big leasing companies, Penske, Ryder, Daimler Financial Services. So let's say there's an ecosystem that is used to own assets, operate them, and make money from. And we can just, let's say, elevate the industry and help them making their business more profitable. We don't need to compete with them. And honestly, before I start putting billions into assets, I put billions into R&D to just unlock more RDD, more ODDs, more countries, more class 6, 7. Yeah, I mean, my fantasy has no limits there. I don't see us going into assets.
Smart. You don't want to own the asset. So you have Ryder, you have Penske, you have Daimler Truck Financial Services. They own trucks today. With the Ryder and Penske, obviously they do maintenance today.
Sorry for interrupting. Yeah, we also have the big fleets, Schneiders, the Sierra Englands, the Werners, all of them. Yeah, so there are fleets that own the assets, and there are fleets that lease it from the guys. Both of it is out there, and we do not intend to change it.
No, you're not changing it. So let's throw fleet. So you have the Riders, the Penskes, the Daimler Truck Financials. You have the fleet owner operators. How is the maintenance going to work? Do you have to train a Torc certified technician to work on this? Since your trucks have LiDAR sensors, they have cameras, they have compute, they have NVIDIA chips, which are different than from your traditional truck. Do they have to go through a Torc training program, a maintenance program to work on these trucks?
Yeah, and this is, let's say, one of the key points when we also work with the big fleets. So there is not only a driver shortage, there's also a technician shortage. And I think we made this public, by the way. Penske is also one of our pilot customers, and they are mainly they're doing the maintenance on our trucks. So we have an ecosystem where we with Penske working on how to do maintenance of an autonomous system, and we will also do it with others, just not publicly announced. And what we and we also will do it then with the Freightliner dealers. But in the end, you need to have standard work instructions how to do a repair. So that it's a good repair, and then you also need to have just the checks and balances like calibration in place. Yeah.
Is this where the Daimler network, the Daimler truck network effect gives you a competitive advantage since the relationships are already in place to manage and maintain large fleets of trucks?
I definitely think so, yeah. And I told you, I'm coming from the trucking industry, and I'm the only person in leadership position within Torc that has a trucking background on purpose because we are a software company. But when I launched a product a while ago. I was part of a team. I was responsible for product generation 2 and 3 of the engine, which is within a Freightliner. So the Detroit diesel engine. Yeah. So that was my engine. And this engine really disrupted the market, and it helped Freightliner to gain a lot of market share. And today, by the way, it's the engine of choice for customers. Yeah, you can also pick a customer, let's say a Cummins engine. But vast majority is picking my old engine. And when we launched it, really preparing the market, preparing the dealer network was a key. Because again, whatever you design, things will break. It's just a fact. A truck is a rough life. Trucks are driving 1 million miles, and autonomous trucks will drive a ton of miles per year. So it's super important that you really prepare the dealer network and the service network, either Freightliner internally or, let's say, the third-party dealers or the fleet dealers, the fleet repair shops, that they can handle these parts. Because if a truck is broken, you want the truck as early back on the road as possible. And the other topic, which is really important, we call it preventive. You want to predict that the part is failing. And in the meanwhile, here also AI helps a ton to really predict failures. Yeah? So that it's not an unplanned downtime, but you can say, hey, whatever the LiDAR will fail within the next 4 hours, I'm arriving the hub, I'm finishing my mission, and then I get a new LiDAR, and then I continue on. Yeah? So that's the other time how you can. The worst thing that can happen is unplanned downtime. Yeah? You will need to repair parts, but just make it a planned event, and then it's not a problem.
How do you prepare the dealer network for this change? Because putting an engine, as great as the Detroit engine is, they've seen engines before. Autonomous trucks, some dealers have never seen an autonomous truck before. How do you prepare them?
Yeah, but I told you, let's say, take a redundant chassis. It's just doubling the components they know. Yeah? They have seen the brake before. They have seen the steering before. They know what a wiring harness is. They have seen cameras and radars before. Yeah, LiDAR is new and the compute is new. There will be some new things, but I think with the right appropriate training, it definitely can be done.
From a component standpoint, are the components hot swappable? Does the truck have to have a lot of downtime to swap the components? What's your component swap strategy?
We're not done with that yet. But let's say serviceability and cost of repairs is a big topic, obviously.
It's a big topic, and what you're building takes a lot of capital. Torc Robotics is an independent subsidiary of Daimler Truck. How do you manage your capital allocation strategy?
And may I put it a little bit broader in terms of cost and capital? Why? What we did back in 2019, even we were developing target cost for the truck. and target cost for, let's say, the mileage fee. And that is important because we develop whatever we are doing, we are developing this into a cost target that even back then we know will work and will give the customer a 1-year payback time. And so whatever we put on the truck in terms of redundancy, cameras, radars, compute, it's at target cost, and it's within the budget that we have set ourselves. And then also, just how much funding you burn year over year over year is in the end determining how many trucks do you need to be break even, and also what's your mileage fee that you can ask for. And so that's why we were also super frugal on let's do not burn too much money too early, because we need to recover all of this. In the end, that's also defining our price point for the future when it comes to the subscription, to the virtual subscription. I mean, pricing is set by competition, but our cost position is set by what we are doing, and the differential is our profit. Yeah? And we want this to be as big as possible so that we can continue financing our future, which will remain to be expensive. Yeah? And then in the end, that defines how much capital you also want to spend. And then we need to spend capital mainly for 3 things. On the one hand side, paying for all the, let's say, Torc-specific changes to the base chassis Vaughan is providing to us. Then for all the, let's say, hardware supplier development cost. And then, but this is more the smaller part. And of course, for our pilot fleet, the trucks are expensive. We need to run them. We need crews for this. And then comes more or less the other part, which is all of our tooling, all of our data, and of course, the people that work on the software. This is the majority of the spending.
How many employees is Torc up to now?
We are not speaking in the public, but let's say it's between 500 and 1,000.
So you've grown.
Let's say we are not at a size like the really big players, but we also do not have the burn rate of a really big player. On the other hand side, we also have a pretty, let's say, good army and a decent war chest, so that we have a chance to accomplish the mission. Because if you have to do it all, the software, the validation, but also paying for the hardware and the trucks, it's costly. And I think we are right in the sweet spot where we can unlock the technology, but overall it's still very manageable in terms, and very responsibly in terms of funding we are spending.
Are the majority of those employees engineers focused on developing the software?
Yeah, majority is engineers. Then we have operations people and a little bit of G&A, like me.
Well, I mean, you have the trucking background. You can't dispute your trucking background. You clearly understand the industry. When you look at the industry, and I'm going to zoom out to the vehicle side. We saw what would happen with Cruise and GM, where GM just woke up one day and said, we're not going to fund it. The sad part is that Friday they pulled funding. Monday, GM was going driver out in Houston. To limit that risk, do you ever explore outside capital in a very similar fashion to the way that Waymo has taken outside capital? So Alphabet is the largest shareholder in the cap table, but yet there is outside capital to help limit that potential risk.
I mean, Waymo is always a good blueprint, and it's amazing what they are doing and how they are advancing the industry. I really admire what they do. You were mentioning Torc as an independent subsidiary, and that sounds a little bit odd. Yeah? The main purpose of this was first to really keep separated from the automotive part, so that we can be run as a software company with our culture. And if we ever become corporate, we become Silicon Valley corporate. Definitely not classical automotive corporate, because usually when automotive companies were integrating software companies, this didn't end good. I think the one and only example is Tesla, but Tesla might not be a good example for an automotive company. I think that's the outlier. So that's why I think it was a really wise decision back then from Daimler Trucks when Torc was acquired to always keep it separate and shielded, and also don't put too much Daimler management in. I'm the only one, yeah, and I'm not a CTO, by the way. I'm a CEO. Yeah. So that's just to make sure that the product we are developing really fits trucking. The other thing, this independence, we own our own patents. Yeah. Usually, subsidiaries, the patents are you have to hand over to the mothership, and then and all of this, we have our own IT systems, HR systems. So we are truly independent. Yeah. So and that's an important one. If you ever want to make a decision to raise capital like Waymo, let's say fast forward, the end of 2030, we are now playing the future of autonomous trucking. There are 3 to 4 remaining AV players, still 4 OEMs, and you might have any free combination of the survivors on the AV side and the OEM side, and we will be one of the survivors. So you need to be able to integrate your technology into all OEMs, and by then you also need a diversified cap table. So I think it's also just to keep strategic options open for the future. It was a very wise decision to keep Torc as an independent company, that we always could do the Waymo play. Yeah. And we will do it. We might never do it. We might do it when the time is right. But could be implemented super easily.
But the way the current structure is, if a point down the line you wanted to diversify with a second or third OEM, you have that ability to do that.
Yeah, I mean, Torc historically has integrated into multiple OEMs. Yeah? I mean, we were on, I think, publicly known on Caterpillar trucks. We were a lot on, we can't speak to it, on a lot of military trucks. So there were 50 to 60 autonomous Torc vehicles out there in the defense sector. So Torc has a history of integrating into different OEMs. We know how it can be done. We also own all the IP that is necessary for this, and we have everything which can be done. I mean, for now, that's the most important thing. Is really this autonomy is just a perfect recipe for distraction. And there's always cool things. We can do the other OEM, this market. We can do Class 6. We can do level 2 systems. I always tell my team, no hobbies. No hobbies. Let's unlock this one thing. US, Class 8, Freightliner. Start making money. Get us to the break-even point, and then we can start dreaming. No limits. Yeah? But for now, it's really no hobbies. The no limits part is set up. Don't get me wrong. But for now, heads down. No hobbies.
No hobbies. You have to stay focused. When you become alphabet size with 20% of your time, yeah, okay, you can focus on hobbies because look at the cash that you're spitting off and the growth that you're having.
How about even Waymo is pretty focused on taxi, aren't they, currently?
Waymo's fully focused on taxi, but they have a very public partnership with Daimler Truck. And I bring that up because at CES at the Leaders in Technology dinner, Ed Ludlow was the moderator. Takedra, the co-CEO of Waymo, brought up trucking and was specifically named Daimler Truck and the relationship with the redundant chassis. Unprompted, she brought it up. That's reading the tea leaves here as an analyst. It's obviously they're thinking about it. Do you ever see Waymo coming back into trucking, the rebooting via, since the CEO was out there just last week, publicly talking about the relationship with Daimler Truck?
I don't. I have a crystal ball, but it's not working right now. You really need to ask them. It's good to have competition, and it's healthy to have competition. And we were always expecting Waymo to be on the Freightliner truck, to be honest. So that wouldn't, I think, we want competition out there. It's not a good thing if you're the only one out there. It's good that Aurora is there. It's good that there's a few small players out there. And whenever the time is right for Waymo to return, it's a really good competition, and competition pushes us forward.
Okay, so I'm going to ask you to reboot the magic ball, because this is we got to reboot it and see if it's got any energy in it. If and when Waymo does re-enter trucking, what happens to the market? Do you feel that there's more attention put on the market? It galvanizes investors, that look, this opportunity is real. You have the most successful robotaxi company in the world going back into trucking as another opportunity. Do you feel that it galvanizes the market, or what do you see happening?
I don't want to talk too much about Waymo. I think for us, it wouldn't be a big change because we are heads down, no hobbies, on our mission. And I just know if we hit our price points, if we hit our reliability target and safety targets, we will have a product that is really what a customer need. And it will be a fantastic product that the customers will buy in. And then the market doesn't like monopolies or oligopolies. So it's good if someone enters the market, and Waymo would give the market a lot of credibility. But I leave it with that. We really focus on our mission. We will have a damn great product, which is amazing and which is exactly meeting the need of the industry, and it will sell. And again, my engine, we started with 20% market share against Cummins, and now there's not much left for Cummins. So we know how to do it. Yeah.
You have the history of building, you're right, a monopoly. Then you've got all sorts of DOJ investigations, and nobody wants that. You don't want an oligopoly. But I believe we'll probably have 4 to 5 autonomous trucking companies said and done, maybe consolidating to 3, depending on the way that investors are currently valuing the market and what decisions, when the cash flows or the PE tries to make. One big thing I'm watching in the market, Aurora in an SEC filing has said that they're going driver out by April this year. What do you think from a market perspective that does? Does that add jet fuel to the investor interest, the overall growth of this market when Aurora achieves that milestone?
I think what really infused jet fuel was Jensen at CES. Wasn't that great? Him on stage and speaking of physical AI, self-driving is solved, and the big topics are self-driving cars, and I think he also meant trucks, and humanoid robots. That's the next big thing, physical AI, so that AI is doing the real stuff. I think that's the jet fuel all of us needed, and which I like a ton. And then, whenever someone in our industry is making progress, I take all good news out there from whomever it is, and we will also put a lot of good news out there. I keep fingers crossed that they can keep up with the promises by April. Yeah, good for the industry. Good for the industry, and we need competition. Yeah.
It's great for the industry, and it validates what you're building at Torc is the right thing, and it validates what your competitors are building is the right thing. And when Jensen said autonomous vehicles will be the first multi-trillion-dollar robotics industry, everybody stood up and took notice. That was the headline in the Financial Times. I was like, yes, this is great. Investors are connecting this with this. Investors are connecting with this. Your customers are connecting with this. There's a lot of interest in autonomous trucking across the board. What do we need to look for Torc over the next 12 months? Anything really big coming out that you're super excited for? What do we need to be on the lookout for as it relates to Torc?
I think the really, really big moment for us last year was this driver out on closed course, where we had the feeling it's the first time that our, let's say, system, that the fully production intent system from the rubber to the roof was moving without a driver. And again, this was amazing. I got goosebumps. Hey, you're there, safety drivers leaving the car, the safety conductors leaving the car, go in a chase car, transferring the mission, truck accepts the mission, and then it takes off after health check. And you're just saying, oh, baby, please come back. And then it does the laps and the laps and the laps all over hour, without hitting anything and completing the mission. It was so amazing. So for this year, it's all about putting this truck on public roads in Texas on I-35 out of our Dallas hub that we are opening up in the first quarter. So it should be fully operational by March. And then really hardening the topics and run it on the final line, Dallas to Laredo, but also then using our Dallas hub to prove out the operations. And that's quite often forgotten. We are not building a technology. We're not even building a product. We are building a business. And for fleets to make this, they like the cool tech, but in the end, they need a product which is safer than humans and which saves them money. And if you save money here and then you burn it all in operations again, you've gained nothing. And that's why we will use our hub in Dallas to really work also on the operations aspect. Yeah, how can we do the departure check from 20 minutes to 11 to 10 to 8.5 to and all the things. How can we do a super cheap retrofit kit for a customer destination? So you have a big warehouse where you run whatever 100 trucks a day out of it, so that we can have an easy, let's say, retrofit, infrastructure retrofit tool that you can, or package toolkit that you can make your hub autonomous ready. And these are the next big things we are working on it. Plus just hardening the entire thing. Yeah, in hardware speak, that would go from B sample to C sample to C sample, and same will happen on the software side. It's more working towards feature complete. And every 3 months we will do a product release, big product release, like we did with our driver out. So we will always add a ton of features, and then do the driver out on closed course only for now. But so every 3 months we will have a super big milestone.
There's big milestones coming with Torc, because Torc is on the road to fully autonomous. Torc is building a business. Peter has his eye focused on how to build a profitable autonomous trucking business. The future is bright. The future is autonomous. The future is Torc. Peter, as always, thank you so much for coming on the road to autonomy.
Yeah, thank you for having me here. It was fun.